Good morning. Happy Monday, or however you feel on this Monday. I'm back, and today I just led a guided meditation on Instagram Live. So if we're friends on Instagram, go check it out. And I'm going to be doing that each day this week with my wonderful friend, Christopher Aguilar. So in doing this, part of the reason that we decided to do a live meditation each day is because my friend Chris was noticing that he doesn't always want to do the same old when you get one of these guided meditations. And then the thing with guided meditation is there are so many forms of meditation, so many styles, that it can be interesting to find the one that really works for you. Because I know I really get turned off to a lot of forms of meditation that just don't feel like a good fit for me. They just don't resonate with me, right? And so it really can be important to be willing to feel it out, see what works for you, and try different forms of meditation. Let different teachers be of help to you, right? And then eventually it can be really nice to get to a point where you don't feel like you need someone else to guide you, right? And that's really what I'm always aiming to do, is to help anybody I work with be able to eventually do this with themselves. I'm never looking to have anybody be relying on me for their practices. I'm just here to help you learn these things to do them with yourselves. So I feel like with meditation, there are still some myths out there that are not helpful, that are keeping a lot of people from meditation. And I've talked about this lots of times. I talk about it often, and especially when I get invited to teach on meditation, because I feel like we're at this time right now where most people know, well, they think they know what meditation is, right? Maybe many people have even tried some form by now, but you can see for a lot of people there's this resistance, right, to doing it. And sometimes this struggle with ourselves, like, why am I not meditating? I know I should. I know it's good for me. Even the doctors tell me now it's good for me. Why am I not wanting to do it, right? And there can be various reasons that we could have some resistance to meditation, absolutely. Partly just because whenever we do meditate, it is a time that we're spending with ourselves, and we are getting a chance to see how we're doing, to see how we're thinking, to see how we're feeling. And that could be painful, right? We could have some resistance to becoming aware of that, right? To having that experience with ourselves. So I can see that that's one reason we might have some resistance to meditation, right? Because sure, it does mean that we're going to be checking out how we're doing. And for some of us, we might feel like we'd rather not know, right? But that's one of the things that I feel like I want to bring into a more clear picture of what meditation can be, is this idea that it is time with ourselves, and it's not just about turning ourselves off or turning the mind off. And that's one of the big myths that I feel like I always want to impress upon people, because it's helped me a lot. And even when I listen to some of the big teachers right now, like today I was listening to Deepak Chopra's or I don't know if it's new, but he's got a program out. So I've been invited to join it with one of my friends, and I love Deepak. He's been a classic teacher of mine. I've learned so much from him. Most people know his name, right? He's like a household word now. But even Deepak, when he's leading his meditation, some of the things that he said, I just feel like, how does this work for people? Is this really working for the majority of people and helping them feel like they are empowered to meditate through this experience? Because part of what Deepak would say is, just once, let go of all thoughts, which I think is a beautiful idea, right? I'd love to be able to let go of all thoughts for a long period of time. But I'm going to be honest with you, I don't find that experience happening very often for me. And I get the feeling that for many humans today on the planet, to let go of all thoughts for very long is nearly feeling impossible, right? And so if we've come to believe that meditation means letting go of all thoughts, just let it go, you can do it. And if you're like me, or like a lot of us humans on the planet right now, that's freaking hard, right? And almost feels impossible. And so right there, it's like, wait a minute, I couldn't let go of all thoughts. Wait, don't go on with the meditation because I still have thoughts. Did I mess up? Am I doing this wrong? Right? So that's when I really want to get this point out there that, in my opinion, for most people these days, it's just not even appropriate to aim for letting go of all thoughts for long periods of time. I mean, it's a great aim. And if you're able to accomplish it, let me know. Give me a ring. I want to talk to you. But I would bet even, some of the yogi masters on the planet at this time, I would be so curious to find out, how long do you actually find that you're able to let go of all thinking, right? So yeah, it gets me a little triggered because I just feel like it's unrealistic, right? So what I like to share instead is, heck yeah, we get to learn to quiet the mind, and amazing things happen when we quiet the mind, for sure. When we're able to quiet that mind, it relaxes us, it relieves stress, it helps us clear the thought, it helps us even redirect the nature of the thinking. When we are able to quiet the mind, it's also the time when we can, a lot of us find, we can feel even more connected spiritually and have these magical moments of realization, inspiration, downloads, right? So yes, we can have quiet mind moments in meditation. And I'm all for creating that. But what I love, one of the more modern teachers, and maybe this is a more modern conversation, maybe hundreds of years ago, humans had an easier time letting go of all thoughts for 20 minutes. But I really feel like modern humans, one of the teachers I like who's a more modern teacher got me in this thinking of, what about 2 to 5 seconds of quiet? Could you even create 2 to 5 seconds of quiet in your mind? And for a lot of us, even that is like, that's a little challenging, right? But I feel like for a lot of us, that is a lot more realistic. And then what's so cool is it's awesomely therapeutic. So that's one of the myths I like to bust, is that meditation is not just about quieting the mind. It's, yes, we do get to learn techniques and practice techniques and find moments and create moments of quieting the mind. Heck yeah, which is awesome. It's a really great technique to learn, and that's what I love to share when I teach meditation, for sure, is ways to quiet the mind. But I'm going to ask you to try it for 2 to 5 seconds at a time. And then maybe you'll actually get, you'll start to find you can do it for a minute or maybe minutes, right? But what happens on the other side of the quiet, around the quiet, is equally as valuable. That's another thing I like to share about meditation, is that the thinking that happens and what we get to do with that thinking doesn't mean we've failed. It doesn't mean we're not meditating. It's equally important in meditation, I feel, especially when we're looking at how it's helping things like mental health. That's what I maybe could even propose more. If we're looking at meditation for how it's going to help our mental health and how it's going to help our connection with ourselves, how it's going to help us in our lives, in our awareness, in making decisions, right? I would vote more this approach where, yes, we get to quiet the mind for seconds at a time. We get to develop that technique. We get to expand that. And there's all sorts of ways to do that, which are awesome. And that's some of what I love to share when I teach meditation. But then the time that we get to spend also listening to ourselves, noticing the thoughts, observing what is on the mind, checking out how we are feeling, how we are doing, what we're remembering, what we're considering, what we're worrying about, right? That's equally as valuable and part of meditation, in my opinion, and what we want to be doing in meditation. So to even say, let go of all thoughts, well, again, maybe a worthy, wonderful, ambitious aim, but, and again, we can find wonderful moments in that quiet, but also equally helpful is the time that we spend just observing the thoughts, checking out how we are thinking. How are we using that mind? How are we focusing? What are we paying attention to? And yeah, it does mean that it is going to start to become part of being able to choose again, right? And that's part of what we get to do with meditation too, is not only tune into how we are doing, how we are feeling, how we are thinking, how we are focusing, how we are using that attention, which is the main tenet of meditation, is attention. We're playing with our attention. Same thing with yoga. The main thing we're working with yoga is attention, whether you knew that or not. So now that we're getting more aware with where we're putting our attention, how we're using our focus, right? What is happening in the mind, how we're thinking, how we're imagining, what we're remembering, all of that is really helpful to get in touch with, right? So we get to check that out. And then, we also get to quiet the mind, which is going to relieve some of that, shift some of that, and change some of that. And in the quieting, for sure, is when we can find those moments of spiritual connection and ways to get more just aligned with ourselves and our heart and our truth and the universe and whatever you want to call it. But equally valuable is that time listening to ourselves, not just telling our mind to shut up, right? So those are some of the pieces that I want to keep bringing up about meditation, just to invite more of us into the therapy of it and how it is something that we can use with ourselves, for ourselves, to help ourselves feel better, right? But the start of that is the awareness of how we actually are doing, how we actually are thinking. And so I would vote that that's equally as important as the quieting. And then a piece that really helps the whole observing thing go better, and a piece that really changes us that we can bring in with the observing, is this idea of non-judgment, and even more like self-love. So now we're just starting to practice observing ourselves, and yes, being more aware, but doing that with this spirit of non-judgment and more like self-love. So that really starts to change how we are with ourselves, right? And that's what we're actually practicing during meditation. We're practicing, in the way that I like to share it, we're practicing being in that place of non-judgment with ourselves, in that place of even more like self-love. And so that as we do notice, observe, realize how we're doing, what we're doing in that mind, right? And how that correlates with how we're feeling. Most of us know that now. We can not get caught up in judging it, because that often just makes us feel worse and often just gets the mind busier, right? So if this is at all about slowing down the mind and quieting down the mind, then the judgment is the opposite of that. Judgment tends to get our mind racing more and tends to get us feeling worse, right? Whether we're judging ourselves or others. So this non-judgment is one of the big tools and part of the therapy that we use with that observing that we're doing, that listening, that noticing. And what else do I want to myth bust about meditation? I mean, just mainly too, that it just doesn't have to be any certain way. If you like chanting during meditation, chant. If you don't like chanting, don't chant. If you like visualizations, if you like to be guided on this great journey in your mind, or let that happen, go for that. If you're not so drawn to that, it doesn't need to be the way that it needs to be, right? So I love that really my most important teachers in meditation have been the ones that have reminded me how simple it is, and how it's really just about settling in, being with ourselves in a way that can be more helpful, right? And in a way that we also get to look at how we're using that mind and the attention and the focus, and very simply shift it back to being more present, being more aware in the ways that we want to be, and putting that attention where we want to put our attention, right? Feeling like we even have some mastery over our attention. If we're mastering anything with meditation, it's our attention, right? So, I think that's some of what I want to say. I'm not sure if there's more that I want to say about myth busting on meditation, but just mainly to know that you can try lots of ways and try lots of teachers. And if you like being guided, check out what's out there. And I'm happy to share some of what I've created. Again, come check it out on Instagram, where I'm doing the live meditations this week with my friend Chris. But then also, it's fun to let it start to become something that's really simple, that you just do with yourself, for yourself, and even throughout your day. And Also, I love to share that anything can be a form of meditation, and it's really about like what we're doing on the inside. So things like washing dishes, things like taking a walk, things like being in the bath, all sorts of things can be forms of meditation. And it's really just bringing in these basics of being able to observe ourselves more with that non-judgment. Yes, being able to quiet the mind in doses or whatever long periods of time you can do. Yes, being open to the reconnecting that can happen in meditation, spiritually, with ourselves, with the world around us. And then, yeah, there's a definite redirect that we can do with the mind through our meditation. But yes, I would vote it's not because we've fought our minds and expected them to be quiet for long periods of time. Things that just, I'm not sure are realistic for a lot of us everyday humans these days. But just more playing with quieting moments, techniques to quiet for 2 to 5 seconds, ways to harness that focus, that attention in ways that are more effective, right? More towards what you do want and more solution oriented even, right? So doesn't have to be fluffy or weird or hard. It really isn't something that should be hard. It's actually a very natural thing for us to do. And I think we've like made it hard in all the fanciness and just this modern time where a lot of people think they know what meditation is, but I'm not sure that we do. And I think that's why so many people aren't meditating, even if they think they want to, because they're confused about what it is, what it's supposed to be. And when they can't make it like that, they're like, I can't meditate. I can't let go of all thoughts, Deepak, sorry. Even though, again, I love Deepak. Deepak can probably let go of all thoughts. I bet, okay, if anyone, maybe Deepak can say, I've let go of all thoughts, people, for long periods of time. But for most of us, many of us, I would vote that a lot gentler, a lot simpler, a lot more modest approach is actually going to be what makes sense, what we can use, what resonates with us, and what can work for us, right? So anyways, hope this can be helpful to you. I'm excited about meditation in that I see that it is such a great tool for mental health, keeping us feeling good, keeping us in balance with our moods more. If we're able to stay in tune with how we're doing, we're able to take care of ourselves sooner and feel better more often, right? If we're just paying attention to how we're feeling and doing and how we're thinking. That's why I'm so into sharing, like, it's not just about shutting up that mind, because we want to see what we're doing in that mind, especially if we're not feeling good, especially if we're struggling with mental health. We want to check out that mind and with love, right? And yes, learn to quiet it. Yes, learn to redirect it, but also learn to understand it and become that non-judgmental observer, and to even feel the feelings that come up as we listen to what's happening within us. But as some of the teachers I've loved will say, as we feel the feelings that come up with that observing of the mind, we get to free those feelings. So it is about facing ourselves. It's not about shutting ourselves up. It is about facing ourselves, but with love and that non-judgment, which is the hugest part. It's going to make it more of like a therapeutic experience instead of feeling like you're going in and feeling at war with yourself, right? As you notice how you are doing, how you are feeling, how you are focusing, and then playing with some of the ways to quiet, redirect, reconnect, and feel better, right? So anyways, hope that's helpful. So happy to see so many of my friends here. Appreciate you popping in. And yeah, let me know if I can answer any questions from my understandings and use of meditation. And yeah, hope you're well out there. Sending lots of love to you guys. Namaste.